Hey everyone, Dan Milliken here. We just finished shooting our whole season 9 list of In the Hangars, which will be going on this channel. And I'd really hope to get our very first episode out actually yesterday, but just as soon as we finished filming, I came down with some kind of heavy duty bug. It's everything I can do right now to drag myself and get in front of the camera. But what I want to do is at least get a video out right away. This is from our archives, but not too long ago. At Sun and Fun last year, almost 1 year ago, I was able to sit down with Mark Patey, who had had this incredible near-death experience. And I'll tell you, talking with him before, during, after that interview, it stuck with me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And even now, a year later, I think a lot about what Mark had said. So I want to share this video with you guys. It was on our other channel. So I'm going to put it right here, and I hope you guys enjoy.
I'm now asking myself why I do a thing.
We are the ones that can provide the solution to the problem.
I'm having a blast.
In the aviation community, the Patey family has a reputation for innovation, genius, all that kind of stuff. But even more so, as I've gotten to know them, to me, they're known for encouragement and just being a source of positivity that I've never seen in another family clan. So joining us today is Mark Patey. Mark, you've inspired me, by your attitude and by your outlook on life and everything else. And recently, that outlook and that attitude has even made another change. And I want to talk about that today.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a big shift, for sure.
So what happened?
I had one of those near-death experiences.
One of those, like it happens to all of us, right?
Well, after it happened, you get online, you start seeing all these other people that have had some pretty amazing experiences or scary experiences. It depends on what side of the event you're on. My experience, I didn't get to. I wasn't there for it. I told my wife I was dying. How much of the story do you want?
I want it all.
Okay. So I had a gallbladder attack, and which was just super painful, and in the ER, and they did their checks and scans. They're like, yep, you got gallstones and you should have your gallbladder removed. I'm like, okay, let's get it done. So they took it out.
Let's get back to work. Yeah.
No big deal. Back to work. Surgery went great. So we thought. And I was home in Texas, and it was 10 days later. The stitches were healed up. There was no signs of infection. Everything was perfect. I had actually forgotten I even had the surgery. The day after the surgery, I was like, I don't need pain pills. Like, this was nothing. And then I was just out working in the yard and started talking to a neighbor, and he's telling me a story. I'm laughing. We're having a good time. And then in the middle of his story, without any thought, I didn't think I'm sick or I feel nauseous. I was actually just laughing, and then I stopped immediately, and I put my hand like right in front of his face in a very rude way. I just put my hand, I said, stop talking, I'm dying. And I turned around and walked away. And as I walked away, I went, what did I just say?
Right.
And I mean, it hit me so fast, I didn't have time to process what was happening. I had said, I'm dying before I felt sick. And as I'm walking away, this overwhelming sense of dread hit me, and I went straight into the house, and I grabbed Susie. I said, Susie, I'm dying. Get me to the hospital. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we got to get to the hospital now. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And so it was so overwhelming. In my mind, I knew waiting for an ambulance, I wouldn't make it. Like,
wow.
It's faster to just go straight to the hospital 7 minutes away instead of wait. Get loaded up, get your heart rate. I've been on search and rescue.
So Susie just ran you to the hospital?
We drove to the hospital.
Okay.
And as she's getting closer to the hospital, my eyesight started to go, not like tunnel vision, just like white, like somebody turned off my eyeballs.
Right.
Which was really scary. I just said, Susie, I'm blind. She's like, what do you mean? I said, my body's shutting off everything it doesn't need, and I'm blind. I can't see anything. It's pure white.
Wow.
And that's the last thing I remember.
Where were you at that moment?
Hospital parking lot, pulling into the ER.
Okay. All right.
And so that's where I was like, okay, I'm blind. We're pulling in, and then
You're out.
I'm out. And so, and then the rest of the story I won't share here, but then I woke up in the ER, and so for me, as I woke up, I got IVs in me, and they got me tilted down on a table, and I'm, talking to people, and I'm seeing their panic, and I'm realizing this is pretty serious. It wasn't till even in the ICU, I was in the ICU for 5 days, that I got to hear my wife's side of the story. And that was a totally different experience for her. In fact, I would talk to people like, this is what happened, this is what happened. I was very nonchalant,
Right.
And then finally she says, you need to understand the whole story. I'm like, what do you mean? She says, you talk about it like it's no big deal. You just kind of, for you blacked out and then woke up.
Right.
She says, for me, I have my husband slump over in a car, and it was pretty bad. I mean, the body, when it's shutting down, everything shuts down, and so of course my bowels let go.
Right.
That's not a pleasant thing, and I'm not responding, and she's pounding on my chest as hard as she can while people are coming out to help get me out of the car. Come back to me. So she's having this experience where feels like she just watched her husband die in front of her eyes, and it's all over. And that's like the stuff PTSD's made out of.
Right.
So for her, that's that. And then going into the ER and watching the way they got the crash cart going and doing everything they can to an unresponsive body. That was her experience. And so I did have to shift my mindset and go, okay, yeah, for me, I blacked out, woke up. For her, it was some time of just sheer terror and panic, so. And
Wow.
that shifts when you see how fragile these meat sacks we
Right.
get to live with are. You start going, okay, well, you can be dead any second,
Well, for you pass out, you wake up much, much later. A lot of near-death experience, I've read on them. People see things. Did you recall anything?
Yeah.
And that's going to stay with you?
That maybe you and I can talk after.
Okay.
But I can say that everything I thought, everything I believed shifted. I can say that I feel like I've had to get used to, since that experience, I've had to kind of come to grips and keep telling myself, yes, this body's real. I feel like it's an avatar that I'm living in.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Like this little meat sack that I get to live in, it's remote control. It's like,
right.
It's so temporary and silly and funny. And so I'm like having to kind of in my mind go, okay, Mark, you're living in this avatar. This is the life you're living right now. Like, finish it off, finish strong. So yeah, there was an experience that shifts reality in a significant way.
All right. So, for us in the aviation community, we look at you guys, and you are, like I said at the beginning, you guys really are amazing. And now you're like changing that. You're taking it up a notch. What has come out of this experience for you personally in the way you're approaching everything? Because, okay. So normally when somebody announces I'm stepping back from the company that I'm running, usually it's because there's skeletons in the closet or bodies buried in the backyard. But for you,
there might be some of that.
Yeah, right.
There's not.
Right. So what is going on now with you from that experience?
Suddenly, the stuff that I've spent my whole life fighting for, which is generally stuff, is insignificant.
Okay.
And maybe that'll come back. And I still love my airplanes. I love my life. I love my lifestyle. I have a newfound appreciation for what I have. I have a newfound of gratitude. And I think probably one of the biggest things, I also recognize none of it matters.
Right.
It's so insignificant. And that doesn't mean, well, for about 3 months after this experience, Susie had to stop me from giving away stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, I was like...
By the way, if I give you my address for the carry the Pilatus if you need to. If you need that.
We'll just have it delivered.
Thank you.
No, and when you so again, I won't go into the between going to sleep, waking up.
Okay.
And the reality is, it was probably seconds on this side, and people can say, well, the other side's not real, this or that. I'm like, all I can say is my experience was more real than this thing I live in.
Right.
But that's just my experience. It doesn't mean it's real. It's just my experience was pretty profound. And so I immediately was like, hey, let's give these things to the kids. We've got some cash. Let's donate it over there. And I was just wanting to give away everything. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, none of this matters. Like, we can help people. We can do stuff. And she, she was good. She was patient with me. She says, no, wait.
Right.
And then finally I'm like, okay, you're right. I'm probably not going to die again tomorrow, or, and I can't even say I was like dead,
right.
But I did finally settle down and go, okay, the stuff we have because we haven't just given it away. We have it, we leverage it, we invest it, we grow, and probably the greatest things we've ever done that has lasting benefit to others is build companies. And that's where my wife helped me focus. She says, you can't give away everything because the company will have downtimes, and we've always taken the assets we have or whatever investments we have, and we get rid of them to keep payroll for all the families that count on us for their house payment.
Right.
And so I'm
balance.
It's balance, and she's reset me. So it's just a good thing, because I'd have given away everything within 2 months. I'd have just, in my mindset, it's like, none of this matters. None of it matters. And so now that's where my mindset is how can you have a meaningful impact in life? And it's not giving away stuff. Certainly you give somebody stuff, then they just come back and say, give me more. And so that's where the shift is. And our company's good and our company's strong, and I will make sure it stays that way because my sons own it with me. And they're the most important thing to me, and my grandkids and all of our employees. And so I will be a responsible steward of what we've built. But my mind shift has gone to, if you have everything you could want, and again, I kind of stopped and said, I don't need more.
Right.
I've always needed more, and I think, and I know I'm talking a lot, and you're not asking a lot of questions, so I'll
This is all good.
I grew up really poor, 11 kids and nothing, and I had some childhood pain because the way I was treated, because the duct tape wrapped around my shoes. We were very poor in a not really poor area, and some children they don't understand the damage they're doing when they tease or poke fun, so I think I spent so much of my life in an unhealthy way trying to prove to the world I had value, trying to prove I could build something, I could do something.
Right.
And that's gone.
Yeah.
All at once, instead of going, I want more, I want to build more, I want to succeed more. And after this experience, I went, not only do I have enough, but more importantly, I am enough. I don't have anything to prove to anybody. And that was a very, very healing experience. And so it's like, well, I have enough and I am enough, but not everybody else does. And so where do you help in that regard? How do you help people realize that wherever you are, and no matter how tough it is, you're enough. You can love you, and you can be loved.
So what are your plans now in light of that?
Well, that's the thing I'm trying to figure out. I
Okay.
made that YouTube video trying to get ideas. And
on Mike's channel. Make sure you guys watch that.
Yeah, and I think yesterday was like 2,800 comments, and that's great. I haven't been able to read them all. I try, but some of them are pretty long.
Right.
And some you have to really think about. And then my email is where the really long comments go. And so I haven't even gotten through half the things in my email, because when someone gives an email, it always starts with, YouTube doesn't let me write enough.
Oh, wow.
And then you're like looking at it and going, I've
6
got
pages of-
14
yeah,
pages,
14.
and I'm like, I can't read all of them. So I'm trying to read through them, and I've got a pretty good feel. But for me, the biggest thing is aviation's been the passion and joy of my life, second only to my family and faith. And now I go, okay, well, that's where my passion is. So how can I have a meaningful impact in aviation? And that's where we have influence. Like, you know, in aviation, it's fun to go around a show and people want to say hi and shake your hand and take a photo, and you're like, oh, this is fun. But if I go anywhere else in the world, I'm nobody. I have no impact. I'm just some dude with a black T-shirt on. So here it's like, well, if you have influence, make a difference where you have influence. And so I want to try to do something here, and I want to make sure aviation keeps growing. I think aviation does something for kids, and no matter what their background is in rising to excellence, you can't fake it in aviation. You either did the work to get your pilot's license or you didn't.
Right.
You know, there's a real sense of accomplishment. Not many people do that, and I think that's a beautiful thing. That was a very healing thing for me, and I didn't realize it until after this experience that becoming a pilot was like one of those permissions I gave myself in life to love me, to go, I did it. I'm a pilot. And I stopped seeing myself as the kid wearing plaid bell-bottoms, girls' pants, because my sister's pants got handed down to me, and I had to wear girls' pants at school and get teased. You know, like aviation was one of those things that let me go, but I did this, you know. So it's been healing, and I want it to be here. And Dan, I wish I knew exactly what it meant. And it might just be more videos and maybe interviews. I have enough, and I am enough, and I want other people to have that awakening.
It's a great message. I have enough. I am enough. Yeah. You know, and I know that you're in a journey to figure what this next thing is, and I just, wow, because, like I said, you guys are such an encouragement. And now, just like your amp is now going up to 11. You know,
Right. I thought I was there.
yeah, but you were only at a 4.
No, and
that means all of us are like at a 1. So
no, and I wouldn't say the amp went up to 11. It's a shift to the side. It's saying, okay, if I'm going to do this, how does it have impact? It doesn't mean I stop with business. It's just that if I have a business, let's make sure that the people working there have an environment that they love. Like, you hear people like, oh, I hate going to work, and I hate this, and I hate that, and I hate my job, and I hate my boss, and suddenly I'm like, I know I've always felt our staff and our employees love their job, and now suddenly I'm like going, well, I feel they do. Do I know they do?
Right.
Because everybody has challenges and struggles in life, and suddenly I'm going, is there anybody that works for me that their home life's terrible? They're on the edge of divorce. They're dealing with health issues that I don't know about. And is there any way I can do better so that when they're at work, this is a refuge. This is a place of peace. This is a place where they're not dealing with the other pains of life. And so it's not that everything changes, but the energy behind what I'm doing is shifting, I think, to a better place.
when you talk, I think of the word purpose, and it's somewhat overused in some circles. But really, to me, it sounds like you found a deeper purpose. And it's not just about acquiring stuff, or it's not just about feeding some insecurity or feelings of inferiority that you grew up with, but it's about a bigger purpose. Is that what you would?
No, it's 100% what it is. And I think really what it comes down to is I'm now asking myself why I do a thing.
Yeah.
Because my whole life, I didn't realize it, but why I was doing so much is because I had an injured little child inside that felt like I was never enough. I had never accepted the fact that I'm doing good things and I'm a good person. I was always trying to do more good things and be more of a good person and make more money to prove that I'm not the poor little kid with the stained T-shirt wearing every 3 days, you know, the same one looping, hoping nobody would notice. Like I'm not that kid anymore. But that kid was driving everything.
Yep.
That was the why I worked so hard. That's why I tried to build a company. That's why I was
You're
trying
compensating.
I was compensating in such a big way, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
And suddenly, after this, I'm like, wow, I'm fine. Like, life's beautiful. I am beautifully perfect in all of my imperfections. My imperfections are fine. And I don't need to prove anything to anyone else or me. And so now it's like people from the outside might look at a year down the road and say, Mark's doing the exact same thing. And it's like, could be. But the why behind it is shifting. And I think that's everything. Someone could say, are you doing a good thing for this person in your family because it makes you look good, or in your neighborhood, or because it makes you look
Right.
good, or are you doing it because they need it, right? And if the why behind everything you're doing shifts, that the energy shifts, I believe people feel that, and it lifts. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm looking at everything going, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And so like with Best Tugs, it's like, well, why am I doing Best Tugs now? Before it's like build a bigger company, build more products, build this, build. And now I'm like, okay, build an awesome place to work, build something that can give my kids and grandkids a future, and that they can build more awesome places to work. Like the why changed.
That's
And I never would have thought that my why was in the wrong place. I never saw it
yeah.
until now. I was just happily running along, beating myself to death, trying to achieve something that could never be achieved, which would have been perfection in everything I do. That's impossible. It's a good way to live an empty life,
Right.
right? Because you'll never get to the top.
Well, for me, my mentor, he's been a psychologist for 30, 40 years, and he always told me that, Dan, most dysfunction in a person stems, when you peel back the layers of the onion, most problems stem from either insecurity or feelings of inferiority. Yeah. And, we don't know what they are a lot of times because they're so ingrained from childhood. Same thing for me growing up poor, and I'm compensating for whatever. But for me, as a Christian, and, you guys on the channel know I've said some things. There's a verse, Psalms 139 says, I'm fearfully and I know this, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And you can read that and say it, but until you actually internalize it and realize it's the same thing what you're saying, that, I am enough. I have enough. Yeah. God is enough, no matter what's happening. Yeah. So, Mark, I so appreciate you coming and sharing.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here. I probably said more than I intended to.
Well, I appreciate that.
Thanks for watching. As soon as we can, I'll get some of the In the Hangars edited and posted here on the channel. We've got some new team members, and I'm excited for you to be able to see them. So take care. We'll see you next time.